Welcome home, my child. Welcome home, where you belong.
Well, hello, I'm so glad you decided to join me today. I'm Alex Torch Kumpf, and today we're going to continue our series of messages on Jesus being the Messiah. And today we're going to talk about Jesus being the King, and we're going to start going to that discussion. And I want to share a quick story with you about a Persian monarch. And this Persian monarch loved his people and he wanted to spend time with them, but he had to figure out a way of how to get out of his kingdom and out of his palace. So what he would do is he would dress in old clothes and poor man clothes, and he'd go mingle around his subjects and talk to them. Well, one day he's in the streets and he comes upon a furnace and he sees a fireman there, a guy who attends the furnace. So he starts talking to him, and the fireman invites him to dinner. So the monarch starts sharing his coarse food with him, and he starts talking to him as you would talk to a friend. And so day after day, this monarch would come and speak with this man and ask how he's doing and spend hours and hours finding out about this man's story. And then one day, the monarch says, you know what, should I tell this fireman who I really am? And so he does. And he takes off his robes and he shows him his jewelry and he says, I am your ruler. And the fireman is just amazed. He's shocked. He says, I can't believe this. And he it's expecting a gift, because that's what people would usually ask the monarch. But so the monarch says, what would you like? Would you like anything? Would you like any gift? And the fireman says, no. He says, I'm not going to ask you for anything, because you sat here day after day and you shared my coarse food and you were worried about how my heart was and you were concerned about my family. He said, you have given me the greatest gift, ruler. You have given me yourself. And see, in this little small story reminds us of how God left his kingdom and how God became a man and God became one of us. He became Jesus to spend time with us, to share his love with us, to show us the right way on how to live. And there's an interesting passage in Philippians 2 that talks about this that I'm going to share with you. And it's in Philippians 2 and starting at verse 5. And it says, your attitude should be the same as that of Christ Jesus, who being in the very nature of God did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant, and being made in human likeness, and being found in the appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on a cross. See, we have a king that leaves the glories of heaven to come to our dark world and to be in our dirt and in our mess, because he loves us and he wants to know what we're going through, and he wants to find out more about us. So how does he do that? He becomes human. He becomes a man, just like the Persian monarch did. So this is a beautiful story that reminds us of this. And I know in 2 Corinthians 5:21 it says that God made him, Jesus, who had no sin, to be sin for us, so that in him we can become the righteousness of God. God took on our dirt and on our grime and all our mistakes and all our messes and all our sin, and he put him on himself. And then he took all that mess and all that sin and all that grime and the dirt, and he took it away by the death of the cross. And then we were washed clean. So here's the point that I want you to remember today, that God left the glories of heaven to become human, so that we who are human can experience the glories of heaven.
Welcome home.